There we are.
Okay, perfect. So then we could just start and then people can come in after. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay. So I see some of that right there. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen again.
I can see your screen, Brian.
You're good. Yeah. Okay. Good. Perfect. Okay. So hey everyone. So we're here to talk to you all about LGBTQ2S plus employee resource groups overall in Spectrum, which is the employee resource group here at Rogers. So we'll talk about what ERGs are and why they're important to supporting equity deserving groups as well. Also, we'll also go over some key pillars of ERGs. So if you're looking to bring one into your workplace, you can kind of have a way to start. And ERGs are Rogers and how we support and embrace our LGBTQ2S plus employees and community, specifically in the virtual workplace, of course. And to start off with some introductions. So so my name is Brian Martins and my pronouns are he, him, and my title is Senior Talent Acquisition Consultant.
And my name is Sarah Burns. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a manager of human resources here at Rogers.
Awesome. So now we're going to start with what is an employee resource group. So really an employee resource group is a voluntary and employee-led group that really fosters a diverse, inclusive, and workplace that aligns well, with the organizational mission, the values, goals, and business practices of the organization as well. And it's for LGBTQ plus employees as well. Perfect. So doing a deeper dive into it, so there usually is 4 pillars, and this is what we go through here at Rogers. So first, starting off with community. So these are events and gatherings where employees can meet each other and exchange ideas, and really here's where you can really build a strong sense of belonging. Next is learning. So it's resources, tools, and training on LGBTQ2S plus topics that are relevant to the workplace and are easily accessible as well. And thirdly, it's attendance, so recruiting. So attendance at LGBTQ2S plus business conferences and recruiting events to attract talent and increase representation, especially in business units with historically low representation as well. And lastly is outreach. So this includes partnerships with community organizers, nonprofit causes or nonprofit organizations that really champion LGBTQS plus causes and supporting the overall community outside the workplace. So a big thing that at Rogers, what we believe in is we really want to give back to the communities that we do business in. So that really aligns with that. Awesome. So doing a deep dive into the first pillar. So first pillar being community. So this first pillar, so here are some kind of examples of how you can really build a strong sense of community within the ERG. So first, by starting, you can host like mixers, so which gives opportunities to really meet people from other departments, organizations, or even other ERGs as well. This also promotes intersectionality, which Sarah will explain later as well, which is a really important topic that we're really focusing on too. Now, next is speaker series. So this is where LGBTQS plus thought leaders can speak about their work on behalf of the community. Next would be Pride. So obviously, we've seen a lot of it. Marching in your local city's Pride Parade, during Pride Month with your ERG. One big thing that we've really seen is a big focus on local prides, like small town prides. So that's what we've been really focusing since we're all like virtual. So that's something we've seen. Next would be socials, which is my favorite, movie screenings, happy hours, and lunches. So this really helps to build a strong sense of belonging outside of the work context as well. Okay. And then next would be offsite. So selecting a full day for members to convene offsite and discuss strategy topics and that are really outside the workplace as well. And then lastly would be panels. So people within the organization can candidly speak about their experience being part of the community. So really kind of, so for other people to see, that other people can work in the organization as well and be open about their sexuality. Perfect. So, and then the next one would be learning. So first, you can provide toolkits with easy to read guides on LGBTQ2S plus topics. So example would be how to be an ally. Also include one pagers with overviews. So that can be easily posted around the office, really focused on education. You can also provide general training, visual resources, and ERG leader training as well. Okay. And then next would be recruiting. So similar to what we're doing here, it's a big part of what we do and being with Spectrum as well. So we separate it into three main groups. So there's conferences, recruiting events, and then community events. So with conferences, examples can be like LGBTQ+, workplace summits, undergrad and student group conferences as well. Then next would be job fairs, on-campus events, and information sessions. And then with community events, it's more like pride celebrations, AIDS walks, and celebrating awareness days. So on the slide, you can see some of the examples and some of the examples that when we've gone to events, it's not just like Rogers, we're showing up as like Spectrum as well. Okay. And lastly is outreach. So this is a really big one. So starting with mentorship. So it's great to have an LGBTQ2S+ mentorship program at your work. So that really creates a forum for people to discuss professional development with other employees as well. It's also a great idea to include LGBTQ2S+ leaders in your organization to really mentor others who, may just be starting their career as well. Next would be volunteering. So you can volunteering at organizations like the 509, Casey House, and other social support centers for LGBTQ2S+ communities. And also in the picture, you'll see an example of when our group volunteered at the Casey House in Toronto. So where we assembled, I think, a little over 4,000 safe drug kits, which is really great. We think it was really needed. Next would be fundraising. So on awareness days like International Transgender Day, Non-Binary People's Day, and History Month as well, you can raise money for specific causes as well. And then lastly would be sponsorship. So sponsoring large-scale conferences like these and posting jobs on job boards with Pride at Work as well. Okay, so next and lastly would be so building allyship. We really wanted to make sure we touched on this. So really ERGs wouldn't be able to thrive without the help of allies. So allies are really people who may not directly be part of the LGBTQ2S+ community, but they really work alongside the community to really end that form of oppression that has given them privileges as well. So allies really listen to and are guided by communities and individuals affected by oppression as well. So here's just like some of the steps to being a genuine ally. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna let ahead of myself there. Awesome. So yes, here are some of the steps to prioritize and building and recognizing allyship in your organization, and really what specific actions that can contribute to being a genuine ally. So first, you want to start with education. So you want to educate yourself about the different identities and experiences. So allies need to do their research, really ask questions and about the history of diverse team members around them, and also the struggles they may have faced in the past. And then next would be with challenges. So challenging one's own discomfort and prejudices. So allies need to be aware of their implicit bias. So being conscious of the space you take up as an ally. Also making an effort to really enroll in regular, frequent unconscious bias training is really important. And then thirdly is learn and practice. So learn and practicing the skills of being an ally. So learning the language people use to describe their identities, pronounce names correctly, learn people's pronouns, and always recognize that when you make a mistake, you apologize and learn from it, and then always come from. It's always important to come from a place of like empathy and understanding at the end of the day. And then lastly is to take action. So in the context of allyship, of course, so take action to create interpersonal and societal institutional changes as well. So allies really do play a big role, since they are like the majority as well, in creating spaces for open and honest conversations and meetings and other social environments as well. So if someone is brave enough to share their unique perspective and experience, it's really important to like honor it and amplify it, and to also give space for storytelling of these lived experiences, just to really create that space and make people comfortable to share their story as well. Awesome. So that's it for me. Now I'll pass it on to Sarah, who will do a deeper dive on our ERGs at Rogers and her experience of being part of Spectrum.
Thanks, Brian. So my name is Sarah Burns. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm an HR manager here at Rogers. In case you missed it, I saw a few people join. And although Brian and I are here to talk specifically about the queer community and speak to what Rogers does to support our LGBTQ2S+ community, we really wanted to take some time to also share the different ERGs that we offer here, for the equity deserving groups and to ensure that they're supported and encouraged through work at Rogers. So a little bit of a high level overview of the ERGs that we offer here at Rogers. On the screen, you'll see Rogers Mosaic. So the Rogers Mosaic team supports people of color that come from all different backgrounds, and it focuses on education, open dialogue, and community. We also have the Indigenous Peoples Network, which is an ERG here that helps engage, inspire, and support Indigenous employees and allies while sharing knowledge and experience to help us build strong partnerships and meaningful work. Brian, if you can just go to the next one.
Yep.
Perfect. We also have our RAN, so our Rogers Accessibility Network. And the Rogers Accessibility Network empowers individuals with visible and invisible disabilities and encourages them to achieve professional and personal growth. And finally, we have Rise for Women. So Rise for Women supports all women here at Rogers. And the ERG focuses on sharing stories and experiences while allowing for networking for personal and professional development to foster leadership potential and voices amongst our female employees. And then, of course, we have Spectrum. So on the next slide there, Brian, this is if you can just flip the slide, Brian.
Yeah, it's going.
Oh, it's just a little bit delayed. Okay. I'm too quick for the slides today. So I'll just carry on. So we have Spectrum, which is an ERG at Rogers dedicated for anyone who is part of the LGBTQ2S+ community, as well as allies. And this ERG allows us to connect, share, and engage. And we really drive a culture of an inclusion that removes barriers and encourages the LGBTQ2S+ employee population to bring their whole selves to work. And we raise awareness by delivering education as well as promoting activities for the community. So that's our ERG for the queer community here at Rogers. And we thought we'd take some time, just again, flipping the slide here, to share a little bit of a personal story about ERGs and the importance of them at Rogers. So a little bit about myself. I started at Rogers about 2 years ago, and I came from a workplace where I didn't feel safe to show up as my authentic self each day. I really felt the need to hide who I was, and I didn't feel safe or comfortable talking about my personal life or my partner at the time. Every time at that old workplace, someone would talk about their families or their weekend life, I was genuinely nervous that I was going to have to come out or that I would be outed in some way during these conversations. And it was a really tough situation to be in each day, feeling uncomfortable and unsafe being my true self at work. So a perfect example is I was an HR business partner in that previous role as well. And during Pride Month, I was trying to promote different activities that were happening in the community and in the GTA. And I put up a promotion board to talk about all of the great activities that the community and allies alike can get involved in. And my sexuality was questioned just for even putting up a board at work. And this was kind of the last straw for me. I was coming not only in my work life that I was feeling uncomfortable and unsafe, but it was coming home with me. And I really realized the importance of finding a new place to work, finding a new culture where I did feel safe and authentic at work. And there were no resources for any of the equity deserving groups at this past place of employment. So that's when I made the move to Rogers. When I was looking for my next step in my career, I vowed to myself that I would show up as my authentic self in the workplace and that I would come out at work. But I needed to find the right culture to do so. And I know that's not a simple feat. And it was terrifying. In the interview process, I felt really safe. There was a self-identification questionnaire. My managers were open and kind. They were supportive. But I still had this kind of gut feeling that what if this is truly just in the interview process here at Rogers? What if this isn't in the day-to-day values that we live? And I was quickly surprised and joyfully surprised to see that that wasn't the case. In my first week here at Rogers, I was on the Yammer page, which is basically an internal community forum for employees here at Rogers. And my manager took some time to sit down with me and really show me the different Yammer pages for the ERGs that we have at Rogers that I just went through with all of you today. And she shared Spectrum. I kind of casually noted that I would probably be interested in attending a Spectrum event. And the very next day, I got a calendar invite from my manager setting up some time for me to meet with the leader of Spectrum at the time, which was fantastic. So he and I met, we discussed my previous employment, we discussed my passion for I&D, and I was very honest about my fear of coming out at work. I was shortly after that, I was interviewed for a position on the core national Spectrum team. And now I'm a core member of our Spectrum ERG here at Rogers. And I'm out at work. And each day I really do see that it's not just part of the interview process. It truly is the Rogers values to ensure that people are feeling safe and able to come as their authentic self to work each day. So I'm not only comfortable being out at work, but I'm actually really proud of it. My team really values my perspective. They've given me so much space to share my story, and they've encouraged me to be me at work. And I feel safe and excited to actually be my authentic self at work each day. I have the opportunity to work with great colleagues like Brian on projects like this and connect with all of you here at Queer Tech. And I've had the opportunity to work on so many I&D projects, strategies, and I get to celebrate the LGBTQ2S+ community here at Rogers through so many different events and celebrations and recognitions. So it's really been such a great experience coming here to Rogers. And I can honestly say this is all because of that ERG Yammer page that caught my attention in my first week here at Rogers and encouraged me to reach out. And I'm a living example of how important an ERG is for employees to feel safe and valued at work, to make sure that we're connected to community, that we're connected to resources, and that we have the ability to celebrate who we really are. And if something's missing in the workplace, we have the ability to raise our voice and bring that to a table that's going to hear us. So thank you for hearing my small little story here today, but I'm so glad to be here speaking to all of you. And it's just great to share how great Spectrum is and how great Rogers has been to me. So Brian, if you can flip to the next slide here. We wanted to double click a little bit more into what Spectrum is. I know I gave you a high level overview of Spectrum, but it's the employee resources group again for the LGBTQ2S+ community here at Rogers. And we exist to drive a culture of inclusion that removes barriers and encourages the community to bring their whole selves to work by raising awareness and delivering education. And how we do this is we assist in creating inclusive policies and practices, such as the surrogacy benefit here at Rogers. We have inclusive language promotion. We have a comprehensive plan on how to support employees transitioning at work, which I'll actually dive into next. We facilitate, as Brian was mentioning, the LGBTQ2S+ mentorship program open to all employees and allies. I'm actually currently part of that mentorship program. I'm a mentee, and I have two fantastic queer mentors who are leaders in the company. We have frequent safe and listening talk sessions for all of our employees and allies to come and share their stories and talk about their experiences. We identify different volunteer opportunities at charities and organizations in the community that we can go and do those outreach projects with. We do promote the days and months of significance for the community, and this is to drive awareness and support equity-deserving groups and charities. And we do this through many different forums, including events and Yammer. And then we also host fun events. So it's not all serious education and learning. We have so many fantastic events that I'll kind of do a double click into in a minute. But that basically brings the LGBTQ2S+ community together throughout the year to keep Pride alive 365. So that's kind of our motto in Spectrum. We don't want it to be a 1 month kind of Pride celebration where we all wear our best rainbow outfits and then call it a day. We're really, really passionate about keeping the Pride feeling and support and resources going all throughout the year here at Rogers. So on the next slide, we show our transitioning at work resource guide. And this is something that I was really excited to see and I was really proud of when I joined Rogers. We offer a ton of resources through our inclusion and diversity team. We actually have a group of experts on the I&D team who work closely with our ERGs to determine what employees need and how we can support them. And one amazing piece of work that they've collaborated on with community partners is a guide to transitioning at work. So this guide includes a guide for employees who identify as trans or are transitioning at work, as well as a guide for specific managers of these said employees to make sure that they're best supporting them. And this body of work was in consultation with the 519 and community, which are great community partners here, to ensure that we have the best resources in place for trans employees at Rogers. And this is a prime example of the support that ERGs, such as Spectrum, can provide equity-deserving groups in the workplace so that everyone can feel supported. And this is just one piece of work that I'm really grateful to see here at Rogers, and I think is a really great resource. So on the next slide, you'll see the updated progress flag. which is another really important body of work that Spectrum was part of here at Rogers in implementing. So recently we changed our pride flag from the standard 6-stripe flag that you typically see to the more inclusive progress flag as pictured here. So I'm sure a lot of you know, but really high level, the progress flag basically adds a chevron with the black, brown, light blue, pink, and white stripes that you'll see in the corner here to bring focus to the marginalized groups within the LGBTQ2S+ community, such as people of color, trans individuals, those who have been lost, and those who are living with HIV/AIDS. So the arrow in the flag represents forward movement by pointing to the right. However, it also represents marginalization and shows that the work that still is needed by having these stripes in the far left edge of the flag. So in June, Spectrum collaborated with our other partners to change the flag that the entire organization used to make sure that we're being more inclusive and up to date. So not only did we change the flag for our comms, logos, and profile pictures to show support to the community, we actually wrote a communication that was posted to educate employees on why. So not only do we celebrate difference and support the community, we also are really focused on educating everybody else and allies about why this is an important body of work. And this is just another example of by having employee-run resources groups, we're inviting voices to the table that might not have been heard otherwise and making changes that represent the teams we support. So just another really great example of how important ERGs are for your workplace. So the next slide is truly just a snapshot. I won't go into it in too high level, just considering timing here, but this is just a great example of all of the I&D resources that we have here at Rogers. This is just a really small snapshot from an entire web page that's devoted to inclusion and diversity here at Rogers. And they really double click on so many different topics. The slide after that, sorry, Brian, for the trigger work here with you having to switch slides so quickly, is basically our Spectrum Pride celebrations and activities. So we thought we'd give you a little snapshot on how we kept Pride alive. And although we loved hosting all of these fantastic in-person celebrations and events for our community at Rogers, COVID made us pivot, and we had to pivot really fast. So Spectrum worked tirelessly to keep our LGBTQ2S+ community engaged and supported during the pandemic. And here's how we did it. So you'll see on the screen here, we had virtual panels on intersectionality. We recently just did a panel for Pride History Month with community partners from all over the country. We've done a spring fling. We've done a Carnival Pride collaboration. We did a Pride Safe Talk. We've done lunch and learns. We've done AIDS walks. And this has actually really been a great eye-opener for our community because we are a national organization. COVID and having these great national virtual events has allowed us to bring our community from all over the country together for the same event. So we've had a really great time. And the next couple of slides just show all the fun that we've had being part of this ERG. So these are some screenshots from our virtual events over the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had a bunch. And Brian, yeah, thanks for flipping to the next one. And the next slide after this one is a little bit more serious, but we just wanted to call out the importance of our ERGs all working together to provide an inclusive experience for all equity deserving members. And this really puts on the importance of intersectionality, as Brian mentioned earlier. So it's at Rogers, it's not just Spectrum supporting the queer community. It's not just Mosaic supporting our people of color. It's not just RAN supporting those with visible and invisible disabilities. We all work together to make sure and ensure that all equity deserving groups are supported and embraced. And with this in mind, we recognize the importance of understanding intersecting identities and providing awareness of this entire framework. And we recently collaborated on a fantastic event with Rogers Mosaic to host a Carnival event with a theme of love is love. And we wanted to really recognize and bring together not only members of the LGBTQ2S+ community at Rogers, but as well as the people of color and those celebrating this event. And it was really just one big celebration of love, and it brought all community members here at Rogers together. So that's just a bit of a nod on the intersectionality that we're working on here too. And then finally, all of this great information, we're hoping that we've gotten you excited about Rogers, but when you do join Rogers, how to get involved. So as we went through with all of these ERGs, we have accessible Yammer pages for each of these ERGs. So when you join, you can look on our Yammer page. If you sign up on Yammer, you'll receive emails and notifications of these different events happening. And another great resource you can reach out to is your manager, HRBP. So as a member of the HR community, we're always happy to talk about what you need to feel best supported at Rogers. And we'd love to see you join some of our fantastic ERGs. So with that, I know that we're going to get kicked out of the room, I heard, in 5 minutes, according to Andy. But